Watertown Whiskey presents Reality After Show's coverage of the NFL Weekly Preview Show with Survivor Legend Jonny Fairplay, Survivor 47's Gabe Ortis, and producer Bobby Goodsby.
Wow, what an intro right there.
That's kind of cheesy.
Bobby Goodsby. Oh, hello there. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, joining us on the Reality After Show YouTube channel. My name's Gabe Ortis, joined by Bobby Goodsby, producer and host here at the Reality After Show, launching a brand new show. Yes, a brand new show right here on the Reality After Show network. And boy, oh boy, am I excited for this one. If you follow me on Instagram, if you follow me on Twitter, you know how big of a sports fan I am, particularly how big of an NFL fan I am. And thankfully, I'm not alone in this mental illness here at the Reality After Show. So this is a weekly show that we're going to be doing. We're going to be previewing the upcoming games for the NFL week. And obviously, once we get deeper into the season, we're also going to be recapping the games from the week before. So really, really excited to get into this. We're probably not going to do all 16 games every single week. We're going to do the highlights. We're going to do the ones that matter. We'll try and touch on every single game, but we all know that the NFL is not a league of equality. This is a league where the haves and the have-nots are clearly defined. So we're going to break down all these different games and kind of, for this first episode, give our season preview before the season kicks off tomorrow night for a lot of these teams that are going to be starting, some tomorrow, some on Friday in Sao Paulo, and then, of course, the Sunday and Monday night game as well. So let's start with tomorrow's game, Bobby. Now, first, hold on. Before we get into the season preview, Bobby, you're wearing a lot of purple there. Now, we are brothers in purple, and yet we do not root for the same team.
We do not.
If you're taking in the context clues, particularly from right over, from our perspective, Bobby's right shoulder, his left shoulder, you can tell what team he roots for. But, Bobby, let the folks know. Who do you support and why?
So I am a diehard Minnesota Vikings fan. Obviously, it's been a rough life. We have had many highs, but a lot more lows when it comes to getting to the big game, especially in my lifetime, and closing out the big game, which wasn't in my lifetime. But hopefully, this is our year. This is the chance to finally say we took that next step and we can hoist the Lombardi Trophy. But who knows? There's a lot to get into. Yeah, so tell us about your team, your purple team that's had a little more success.
So yes, your other brothers in purple. The Baltimore Ravens is my team. I'm born and raised here in Baltimore City. It is my favorite city in the entire world. I'm very lucky to have seen a lot of the world, seen a lot of the country, and I always find myself coming right back here to Baltimore and saying there's no place like home. The Baltimore Ravens, pound for pound, I think is one of, if not the best team to root for. I think the only team you could put above us when it comes to who is the best, most fun team to root for are the New England Patriots. And every year since Tom Brady left, that value, I think, has been depreciating a little bit. We have 2 Super Bowls across 2 different decades. If we can get a Super Bowl in the 2020s, we will have 3 Super Bowls across the last 3 decades. That return on investment as a fan, I mean, you can't beat that. You simply cannot beat that. We are a team that has always been competitive for as long as I can remember, and we have struggled in the quarterback department for quite a long time, and yet since 2008, coming up on nearly 20 years, quarterback is one of the positions we have not had to worry about year in, year out. The return on investment on being a Baltimore Ravens fan is just as good as it gets. But I want to get into a little bit of the purpose of the show, and we'll get to our respective teams as both of them play this opening weekend. But let's start with tomorrow night's season opener. Yeah. The Dallas Cowboys playing at reigning Super Bowl champions, much to my dismay, the Philadelphia Eagles. The line is opening up with the Eagles as an 8.5-point favorite. What do you make of this matchup? The common perception seems to be an Eagles stomping. Do you concur?
Yeah, I mean, if my parlay says anything, I definitely took the Eagles and minus the points. Gamble responsibly, everyone. Also, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor of the podcast tonight, Watertown Whiskey. Go check them out, guys. They're going to be sponsoring us all season long, especially during the Survivor season. They're going to be sponsoring us too. So check out watertownwhiskey.com or check them out on Instagram. Big shout out to them, and please drink responsibly. So as far as the Eagles go, I mean, they are the cream of the crop, right? And as much as it pains me to say it, because I still have nightmares in my head from the 2017 season of losing to them in the NFC Championship, I I can respect what this team does. Like Howie Roseman, arguably the best general manager in all of football. Every single draft, it seems like we're walking away being like, damn, the Eagles killed it because they just took BPA. And look what happens when you take BPA. You get to the Super Bowl. You have all these players developed over time. And honestly, they might be the best team in the league right now. Like I would say right now, pound for pound, they are probably the best team in the league. And the Dallas Cowboys are just not on the same level, especially after just losing Micah Parsons last week, which we can get into that. But we are seeing this team. This is a big heated rivalry, and this team is coming from just winning the Super Bowl to a team that is down on the outs in the Dallas Cowboys that didn't even make playoffs. I'll take the 8-point spread all day. Give me the Eagles.
I love the value on the Cowboys this week. I love it. I love the spread of 8.5 points. I think it's too many. I love the Cowboys to win outright at 3.5 to 1. I love it. Now, I'm not saying I think the Cowboys are going to win outright, but I love the value on it. Opening day games are always so damn cagey, and they're often very, very close. And then you mix in on top of that the fact that, yes, they lost Micah Parsons on one side of the ball. I think the Cowboys have gotten better on the offensive side of the ball. I think the biggest name that's going to come out of that, obviously, is going to be George Pickens. And if you can put George Pickens on a team where he's not the best receiver, I think that's a very big deal. I think he's going to thrive in Dallas. I've always been not a fan of George Pickens playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, our hated rivals here in Baltimore, but I have always looked at George Pickens as a hyper dangerous player. And I think that if he's in a position where teams are not worried about him as the primary damage dealer on the offense, in this case, it'll be CeeDee Lamb, I think George Pickens could thrive on this team in Dallas. Now, losing Micah Parsons is about as big of a loss as any team could have that doesn't involve a quarterback, right? But I think the Eagles are going to regress this season, just as I think the Cowboys are going to be a little bit better. I think that the Eagles are not going to get the same production as Saquon that they got last year, not because I think Saquon is any worse than he was last year, but it's damn near impossible to reproduce the kind of season that Saquon Barkley had. I don't think that he is going to be quite as good as he was, game-breakingly as good as he was last season. And again, I think the Eagles are going to be great. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. I think they're going to be competing for the 1 seed. But do I think that we have a potential upset going into this game tomorrow night? Absolutely, I do. So I'm going to have some money on that Cowboys spread, and I might even sprinkle just a little bit on that money line as well. So if you want some good value tomorrow, have some cojones and take the dog, because I like the Cowboys tomorrow. I think 8.5 points. I just think it's too much. I think it's way too much. This is a divisional game. These are two teams that know each other well. This is a Cowboys team where, again, I think the offense has gotten better, and I don't think we're going to get the 2024 Eagles. I just don't. I think they're going to be a great team still. I don't think they're going to be as good as last season.
So, yes, I do agree with you. The Eagles did lose some depth, especially on the defensive line, but they have so many tools that they've been able to bring in through the years that they have the depth already there. As far as the Cowboys go, I don't even think you could say they got better on offense. Did they? Like, yeah, they added Pickens, but they also have probably arguably the worst running back depth in all of the football. Like, who on this running back core are you afraid of? Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue? Like, really? Like, they have no threat to the run game.
I agree with you, but I mean, that's not where they're going to try and do their damage. I think Javonte Williams is a guy who you can depend on to not lose a game for you. I don't think he's going to put the ball on the ground, and I think he's going to be more serviceable than you give him credit for. But, like, I think it's obvious where this team is going to be trying to do their damage. It's on the outside with Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, and that is a hell of a duo. I think you would struggle to find many duos in this league that are better than that. I mean, that is a dangerous, dangerous wide receiver duo to have.
You also
Pickens
got
a number 2.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love the addition of Pickens, but like Dak Prescott not getting injured, like, is their number one concern, right? Because year after year, the guy's dealing with injuries. Yes, you bring in Pickens, but Pickens was also kind of a nightmare in for the Steelers. Like, he was a great player, but off the field, in the locker room, he had issues on the team. So that's what they dealt him. I don't know.
I know I'm fighting a losing position here. Let me be clear to everybody listening. I know that I am taking a big swing here. And the only thing that will prove me right is a cashed bet slip come Friday morning. So I acknowledge all of that. So, before we move off this game, we should talk about Micah Parsons. I mean, this is probably the best defensive player in the league right now. And oftentimes when you see these holdouts happen and when you see these player versus front office dispute go down, usually it ends with some kind of extension or reconciliation. And this is one of the few times where they actually traded the guy. What do you make of this trade?
I mean, obviously, as a Vikings fan, I'm furious about it. I hate it so much because now I have to face this guy twice a year in my division. But one player doesn't make the whole team. Like, everyone's now praising the freaking Packers of being like Super Bowl champions. Like, oh, now this takes them to the next level. They're going to probably win the division. The Detroit Lions are going to take a step back, and Micah Parsons going to change everything. Since when? Like, since when can one guy come in there and completely change the organization? Because last time I checked, they lost to both the Vikings and the Lions both games. All right. They literally went, and I think they lost to the Bears once too, didn't they? So
I think they went 1-5 in their division.
1-5 in the division. Like, that doesn't scare me. So yes, Micah Parsons is a great player. And I think that for Dallas, it is just mind-boggling that Jerry Jones makes this decision, right? Like, you screwed that up so badly that your best player, who was a Cowboys fan when growing up and really wanted to play for the Cowboys, is so despised of your organization and the way you handle things that he's willing to leave his favorite team growing up to play for someone else, even though you offered to pay him the most money in NFL history for a non-quarterback, and he is refusing to take that deal. That just means you and your organization are not doing something right. Like, the fact that he wouldn't even talk to his agent, like, what do you think this is, Jerry?
Yeah, and there were a lot of people who I was talking to who were like, oh, he's gonna sign, he'll extend.
Yeah, we all said that.
When he released his statement, he straight up said, quote, "I do not want to play for the Dallas Cowboys." Usually, even when tempers flare high, it never gets that bad where they close the door on a verbal level, where they say, "I do not want to play here." Those words don't often get uttered. And when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if this guy's going to play. I don't know if he cares about the money anymore. I think he really, really does not get along with Jerry Jones and does not want to play for this team. And how can you blame him with some of the things that Jerry Jones was saying about him?
Yeah.
I mean, saying, oh, well, he's always injured, and if we can get him for 6 games, that's good, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, brother, you don't talk about your franchise player like that. You just don't. So
no.
I think that the Cowboys have fumbled this over the course of the season. I don't think they're going to be very good. But I like the value going into tomorrow night's game, and I'll leave it at that. Heading into Friday, we go down to Brazil in South America, the inaugural game in South America, I believe, right? They played a game in Mexico, but they haven't played all the way down.
Last year, they played the Green Bay Philly game, which was the same
correct. So, the second game, the sophomore game in Brazil, we have the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. Currently, Vegas has the Chiefs at a 3-point spread. I find this matchup to be fascinating, just fascinating. I want to get your thoughts on it. What do you make of both of these teams, and how do you think this game goes?
I definitely think we're going to start to see the Chiefs start to regress, right? Like, we started seeing bits and pieces of it last year where, yes, they were a 15-2 team, but they weren't playing like Chiefs teams in the past. And we were always wondering, when is this roller coaster ride going to end? And obviously, with help from the refs at times, that definitely spiraled into a thing on social media, which honestly, it felt like there was a hidden agenda there. Like, let's be real. Like, the refs definitely had a hand in a lot of things in that situation.
It was devil magic. It was just, they made
devil magic. Exactly. Like my who I love on YouTube, That's Good Sports, would say devil magic. But I also think that we saw the collapse of them in the Super Bowl. And I think going into this year, they lost a few people on the offensive line. They built through the draft. I just think that they're going to regress a little. Now, I think that the Chargers are not going to be fully taking that leap forward that they probably want. I do think that they're going to be a good team and could be a playoff contender. I just don't know if I see this Chargers roster as one that's strong enough to get to a Super Bowl, especially after losing your left tackle at the beginning of preseason, training camp, excuse me. That's rough. That's a rough one to come back from. I think they do have the tools, and I love Keenan Allen coming back to the Chargers. I think that's going to be an awesome situation. But I still think that the Chiefs are able to win this one on the road, but it's a divisional game that we all know can go kind of crazy. I like the Chiefs and the points here.
So this is again, like I said, a fascinating matchup because we have the Chiefs, who will be without number one wide receiver Rashee Rice. Mm-hmm. I guess maybe you can make the argument Xavier Worthy is kind of primed to take over that spot, but still, Rashee Rice is a home run hitter that they are not going to have for a big chunk of the season due to his hit and run that took place a few months ago. But I look at the Chiefs and I agree. I think that they are not going to be this 1 seed juggernaut that they've been for, however many years now, 5-6 years now. Come January, if they're in the dance, it's hard to say that they're not going to find their way to the AFC Championship game. It's always happening. It's always happening. And until it doesn't happen, I'm not going to buy into the fact that it's not. However, Travis Kelce is another year older. Rashee Rice is not going to be there. They brought back Isaiah Pacheco, they brought back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which I find to be an interesting move. I don't think that's a big needle mover. It almost strikes more as like a locker room type of decision of just like, let's bring back a fan favorite that everybody on the team can rally behind and people like to just have for his energy in the room, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I look at the Chiefs as this team that is going to play great in big games and is going to drop games that they probably shouldn't be dropping. I mean, there is something about the big moment that just brings this all-time greatness out of Patrick Mahomes, that brings this all-time greatness out of Andy Reid, and also brings his all-time greatness out of Travis Kelce, despite, his age and his injury history now. Like, I am never going into a game as the Baltimore Ravens feeling comfortable against the Kansas City Chiefs, whether it's home, whether it's away, regular season, playoffs, it doesn't matter because they always seem to rise to the occasion. So looking at this opening game, do I think that the Chiefs should be favorites? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But the Chargers are going to be a problem this year. Bringing back Keenan Allen is a big deal for Justin Herbert. I think we see Justin Herbert take an MVP level jump this year. Does he win the MVP? Far too soon to say, but I think he is going to be in that conversation. His precision, his arm strength is as good as anybody's in the league. His issue has always been when it comes to those big moments, he's the opposite of Patrick Mahomes. He always seems to regress in these big moments. He always seems to not be able to find a way to win against great teams and in January. I think this is the year, really powered by Jim Harbaugh and the mentality and the philosophy that he brings to coaching. I think that is the perfect coaching pairing for Justin Herbert because all the talent I think he has, it's just a philosophy thing. It's something that goes on between his ears that he can't quite seem to correct. I also think that when things go off script, we start to see Justin Herbert get a little more flustered than a Patrick Mahomes does, than a Lamar Jackson does. And I think that this is the year when he has a 2 years straight now of a strong run game, when he has a coach that can say, you do you, I'll take care of everything else around you, which is what Jim Harbaugh is great at. Look no further than what he did with J.J. McCarthy at Michigan in the NCAA. I think Justin Herbert is going to be able to have a bit more looseness and a bit more freedom when it comes to how he commands his offense, how he directs his offense. So I kind of like the Chargers here. I'm not going to lie. And we've seen the Chiefs get off to these slow starts to start the past couple of years. And they kind of putter around for most of the season. And then they find their way into January and they kick it into high gear like we just talked about. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs should be favorites. I think the smart bet is the Chiefs. But 3 points for the Chargers, I don't hate this one either for the dog. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't. I think Justin Herbert is a top 5 quarterback in this league. I think he might find himself not in, but flirting with that top 3 discussion over the course of this year. I love Justin Herbert. I really do. I think he's a fantastic talent. I think he throws one of, if not the best ball in the league. And I'm looking for him to take that step. All right, getting in to the Sunday games, starting with some of the 1 p.m.s. So this one, I think we're going to spend more time on one team than the other. But the New York Giants versus the Washington Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Russell Wilson is going to be the starting quarterback at least week 1 for the New York Giants. Is there anything about this Giants team that makes you go, that's happening? Or do you completely just gloss over them?
Yeah, the best thing that's happening to them is Jackson Dart. And Jackson Dart, I think, will eventually be the starter for this team. I would say probably 6-7 games in, if Russell's starting to struggle or if this team's really not starting to move like they are hoping, I think they need to put Jackson Dart in. One, I think it'll revamp the fans who are really kind of clawing at the bit to get to the point where Jackson Dart's a starter. He looked so impressive in the preseason. Kid had a cannon for an arm, was taking these deep throws and going for it. So I think, as crazy as it sounds, because he's not even starting, Jackson Dart is the most exciting part about the Giants. Yeah. The future is bright for them. Obviously, Malik Neighbors, one of my favorite wide receivers coming in from the draft last year, absolutely destroyed it. Like, if you watch his college tape, for me, watching his college tape going into the NFL draft last year, I was so much higher on him than I was Marvin Harrison Jr. And it wasn't even funny. Like, yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. is very talented. He had the big name, all that. But watching the tape on Malik Neighbors was like night and day difference. Like, it reminded me of Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. I know there's the LSU connection, but just watching his tape, some of the plays he made jumped off the screen to me. So the fact that people were saying Marvin Harrison needed to go before him blew my mind. And we saw last year that he really, really took his game to the next level and was like the one shining star for them on the entire team. Now, as far as this game, what's the spread on this one?
Commanders, who are at home, are favored by 5.5 points.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to take the Commanders. Like, I hate to just always take favorites, but
Chalky Bobby.
But honestly, the Giants are just that bad, right? Yeah. Like, arguably, the Giants could go down as the worst team this year in the league. Like, they are in the discussion for one of maybe 4 or 5 teams that could be the last place team. And so that's why
I think the other team that's going to be competing for that title is going to be the other New York team, the Jets.
Yes.
I mean, that's like 1A and 1B for worst team in the league this year.
I think it's Saints, but those two are right.
Well, it's just Saints is the one that's like you also put in that conversation for sure. Yeah, the Giants, I agree with pretty much everything you said. It's a matter of when is Jackson Dart going to start, not if. You mentioned if Russ doesn't get things going, then and also Jameis is also in there. We can't forget Jameis. Yeah. But let's also remember that Russ is no stranger to injuries. And I think that, like, if he gets injured, if he spends any time on the sideline, I think that's it. I think that Jackson Dart comes in, and I think that they just roll with him, which makes me wonder, why is Jameis Winston even on the team?
They should be trading him.
I don't understand, because, okay, if Wilson goes out and he's terrible, or if Wilson goes out and he gets hurt, is putting Jameis Winston in over your exciting rookie really a sensible move? I just feel like you would want those reps to go to the guy that you've picked to lead this team for the foreseeable future, not the guy who's not going to be there next year. And if he is there next year, he's not going to be leading anything other than Bible study. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, when the Vikings were having quarterback depth problems because, obviously Howell wasn't the answer and all that, and we ended up dropping Rippin, Brosmer looks really good. But we had quarterback depth issues. And so before we brought in Wentz, I really was screaming at my TV screen for us to go get Jameis Winston. Like, Jameis Winston is just so much fun. Is he not like just an entertaining character on your television screen? Like, so he's 35 touchdowns and 35 interceptions.
Yeah.
Like, he will.
And his personality is great. He's the best interview in football. He's the best interview in football. And so I'll tell this story quick because it's like my favorite recent Jameis story. The Giants released a clip. I'm sure some people have seen it. They were doing like a crossbar challenge where it was all the quarterbacks had to try to hit the goalpost. And if they hit it, they canceled practice early. Russell goes and he just throws like a duck. He misses. And then, of course, Jameis steps up and he tells everybody, he goes, "Hey, just so y'all know, whether we cancel practice or not, I'm running Bible study after practice. So make sure that you're there. All right. And then he steps up effortlessly, just nails the crossbar. Everybody on the Giants goes nuts. And Jameis comes out of the big dog pile, goes, "Who going to Bible study? Who going to Bible study?" And everyone, me. Like, that's who this guy is. He is must-see TV, whether he's on or off the field. And it upsets me that he's at a team like the Giants, where it feels like he doesn't really have much of a place. But overall, I agree with pretty much everything you said about the Giants. It's the story of Malik Neighbors and Jackson Dart, a matter of when is he going to finally get some snaps. Also, I'm not out on Brian Daboll. I understand that they had some really rough couple of years. But I think he's a damn good coach. I think he knows how to assemble a staff, and I think he knows how to coach a quarterback. And I think that, like, those are the two most important things for me if you're an offensive coach, is can you build a good staff, and do you know how to manage a quarterback? And I'm excited to see what he does with a young guy. We saw him actually have some meaningful success. He got Coach of the Year with Daniel Jones as his quarterback. So, what would he be able to do with a more promising prospect like Jackson Dart? I'm very excited to see. Looking at the Washington Commanders, this is a team who I think is going to regress. A team who I think is going to take a meaningful step back. Jaden Daniels had an electrifying rookie year. Nobody has to tell you that. You saw that he took that team all the way to the NFC Championship game, dismantled the number 1 seed Lions in the divisional round. I mean, he was as exciting of a player as you could watch last season. Now, usually when you have these exciting rookie quarterbacks, the worst thing that can happen to them is a sophomore year. The film is out. The film is out there. And I think that he is a guy who is going to have to learn how to expand a lot of his game. The thing that makes him special isn't going anywhere. It's his speed and his footwork. He can get out of the pocket. He can create things. He's very, I hate to say it because it's such an early comparison, Lamar Jackson-esque. He's able to extend the play. He's able to scramble with the best of them. But I think we saw some limitations with his arm. I think he struggles throwing to the left side of the field. I think he struggles when things are starting to break down the field and he doesn't have his legs to turn to. Now, could he evolve and become a Lamar Jackson-esque player that, adds that rather takes away those weaknesses from his game and turns them into strengths? Absolutely. And I'm rooting for him to do that. But I think that he's going to regress as a player a little bit, kind of like what we saw CJ Stroud do, obviously in a much different way. He's a much different player. But I think it could be a similar story. Looking at the rest of the team, did you know the Commanders are the oldest team in the league going into this year? Even with their young quarterback, they're the oldest team in the league. The next best player on this team is Terry McLaurin, who had as dramatic of an offseason as a player could have had that wasn't named Micah Parsons. So, they ended up getting the deal done and he got his money. But you have a offensive weapon that is kind of starting his decline, I think. And you have a young quarterback who's going to have to navigate that. While I see Washington winning this game, while I see them covering the spread and still being a very dangerous team, I can see them taking a step back. I don't think the NFC Championship is due for a Commanders return.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think also the fact is we saw them go on a bit of a run, they got hot when they needed to get hot, but they
struggled to start the year.
Exactly. They struggled. And I mean, they were a Hail Mary away from losing to the Bears, who were one of the worst teams in the league. Let's be real. They had a lot of close calls that went their way and they got very lucky. So I don't think they're a bad team. I think they are possibly a playoff, contender. Do I think they are a Super Bowl team? Absolutely not. And the fact is, I also want to throw out one of my sleepers in fantasy for anyone looking for it. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I'm high on him. Go for him.
Yeah, I love that.
Get him late. That guy is going to be a beast, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, and then who left? Brian Robinson is no longer on the team.
Yeah,
right?
He's on the Niners now.
Yeah, so there's an opening in that halfback position that I think Krosky-Merritt is obviously going to be the guy to fill. And yes, I love that shout right there. All right, moving into this next game here, one that is not quite a big headline grabber, so we don't have to spend too much time on it, but there is something to talk about here. The Panthers at the Jaguars. The Jags open up as 3.5-point favorites in Jacksonville against Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. I think, we just talked a whole lot about how we think Jaden Daniels is going to take a step back this year. I think we see a super legit quarterback at a Bryce Young. I think that he needed to fail to succeed We saw some flashes at the end of last season after he got benched that I think that needed to happen. I think it was like, all right, dude, guess what? You're not a number one pick anymore. Nobody looks at you like that anymore. You're just another guy out here. So go play. If you can play, just go play. Forget the headlines. Forget your status. You're just a guy on a bad team. Now go play. And when that weight came off of him, we saw like a completely new player after they brought him back from the bench. And I expect to see that continue into this season. Do I think the Panthers are going to be particularly good? No. But do I think Bryce Young is going to show that he is a face of the franchise kind of quarterback? I would be shocked if he doesn't.
Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to see Bryce Young take that next step, right? Like, we've seen him regress. We've seen him get benched. We've seen him kind of go from the highs and lows. But when he was able to get back in the game and get his opportunities at the end of the season last year, he absolutely flourished. Like, he looked like the player that we were kind of promised. And I feel happy for Carolina Panther fans because they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to go through this again. No quarterback, like another bust. And now he's starting to play like the Bryce Young you were promised. So I'm excited for them. They got Teteroa McMillan that they picked up in the draft in the top 10 pick.
I love that. I love that pick.
I love that pick. Xavier Legette. Now, thank God they traded Adam Thielen when they did to us, because the next day Jalen Coker went on IR with an injury. So that deal might not have got done had it been 24 hours later.
Sure. Yeah.
I definitely think this team is a work in progress. Like, let's be real. Defensively, they've got some players, but it's not, it doesn't remind me of those Panther teams, 10 years ago that you revered on defense. So I think that the Panthers, and honestly, going into the Jags, like, the Jags are a mess too. Like, let's be real. I'm not really happy to see this game at all. Like, I'm glad that they're playing each other so we can get some of the better teams playing each other.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
This game is kind of a womp womp. But do the Jags take it to the next level? Like, are they able? Yes, they regressed a lot last year, but they were a playoff team, 2 years ago? Yeah. So are we able to see them go in and start to play up to their level? Like, the thing is, Trevor Lawrence, like, this is a make or break season for Trevor Lawrence.
It's gotta be, right? I mean, like, he cashed out a big contract, but just in the court of public opinion and faith, if you're fans, this is the year, right?
This is 100% the year. And it's kind of crazy that these two teams are playing each other, because I feel like Bryce Young and Trevor Lawrence are in very similar positions in the public eye, right? So, like, I think that the addition of Travis Hunter, which we still don't even know, will he play offense? Will he play defense? Will he play both? Like, there's people taking Travis Hunter super high in fantasy, and I'm like, I'm not touching him, because there's a good chance he doesn't play wide receiver most of the season, right? Like, he could easily just go to DB. So I don't even know what to make of that. I think that was like a splashy pick. He's a hell of a player, but we've seen time and time again, like, you can't play both ways in the NFL. Yeah. It's only like one or two people have ever been able to do it. So I don't think he's going to have to pick a position and go that way. I think that both these teams are going to struggle this year. I think that they're both building towards something. I do like the Panthers more, so I'm going to take the Panthers in this one.
Yeah, I think I'm higher on the Panthers over the course of the season. Now, could Trevor Lawrence become a guy that, is a dude who in like 4 years we're like, remember those 2 years where he was kind of bad? Yes, like, he was one of the highest rated talents coming out of college, and he's surrounded by talent. Travis Etienne Jr. is a good player. Brian Thomas Jr. is a good player. Travis Hunter, we assume, is going to be a good player. Even further down on the roster, guys like De'Ami Brown, like, that's a good player. And I don't think the defense is anything to scoff at either. Whether Travis Hunter goes on that side of the ball or not, you got Eric Armstead, you have Josh Allen. Like, these are legit players on this team. They just got to find their way, and it starts with Trevor Lawrence, and he needs to lead by example. He needs to be a guy who's like, I'm playing like my paycheck says I should be playing, because that certainly wasn't the case last year. And if he can rise to where he's getting paid and play like he's getting paid, I think everyone else will follow suit. I don't know. I can't say with confidence that he's going to do that, because I've seen him fail so aggressively over the past couple years. So yeah, this is a game that I'm going to be spending very little time on. But if I had to pick somebody, I like the value on the Panthers, I think. But I'm
And
going to have
there's
to
plus
think
3.5.
I might have to think about that. All right, getting into this next game, another one that I probably won't spend a whole lot of time watching, but let's talk about it. The Pittsburgh Steelers heading to New York to face off against the Jets. The Steelers are 2.5-point favorites. I know it's an away game, but this really shows how little Vegas thinks of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, that is with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback and DK Metcalf as the wide receiver, as the starting wide receiver, and Mike Tomlin as the coach, and that defense. Vegas thinks that they are 2.5-point favorites, making the very short trip to MetLife Stadium. I mean, this is the first time I'm looking at this line. I'm shocked. I am shocked. I mean, what do you make of the Steelers team?
I mean, obviously, I think that Aaron Rodgers is washed at this point. I really don't think he's the same player. We saw it last year on the Jets. He struggled. Even bringing in his boy Devontae Adams didn't really affect his gameplay that much. He is still not what he was when he was a Packer prior to the injury a couple years ago. I feel like we saw with Kirk Cousins, it was kind of the same thing. Like they regressed, like that injury and that late in your career. And it's the same exact injury in Achilles. It just changes you. There's just not much you can do. Your body is human. Like you might be a superhuman athlete, but you're still human. So I think that we see the line at -2.5 because people think the forecasters believe that, this team isn't going to be what people might think. Now, defensively, I still think that they're a very decent team. Like I will take the -2.5 all day, especially against the Jets and in a revenge game for Aaron Rodgers.
Sure.
What is his relationship with DK Metcalf? Like we know we've seen them working out in the offseason and all that, but I don't know what this offense is going to look like. This offense is going to possibly stumble. Like I really just don't know what the offense is going to look like at all.
Yeah.
Defensively, they're fine. Defensively, I don't have no issues, but running back, wide receiver, quarterback, like all of these are question marks. And don't get me wrong, DK Metcalf's a hell of a wide receiver, but in a new system, in a new place with Aaron Rodgers, ancient Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball to him. Yeah. I don't see how they do well this season. And honestly, their schedule is not easy from what I remember. So
it's a tough schedule. And it's obviously the big question is going to be what kind of Aaron Rodgers are we going to get? Is it going to be Jets Aaron Rodgers or is it going to be Packers Aaron Rodgers? And I think most people would assume, like you said, probably going to be Jets Aaron Rodgers. And it's a shame for the Steelers. It's not a shame for me. I hope this team loses every single game that they play for the rest of eternity until the world dies. But I mean, you have DK Metcalf, who obviously is a great player. You have Pat Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith. That's got to be one of the better, if not the best, tight end duo in the league right now. When they did that trade, when they got Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith in exchange for Fitzpatrick, I was like, as a Ravens fan, I'm more worried about Jonnu Smith than I am Jalen Ramsey. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is however old he is now. I mean, he's 30 years old, and he has not been the Jalen Ramsey that we were used to for a couple years now. No. Jonnu Smith is a baller. That guy is good. Yeah. So I think this game, who cares who wins? It'll probably be the Steelers, but neither of these teams are going to be making very much noise at all. The Jets, what is there to say about the Jets? The Jets suck. Justin Fields sucks. We move on. I mean, there's one good player on the team that anybody should care about. That's Garrett Wilson. We move on. This team sucks.
And Sauce Gardner. And Sauce.
Yes. But yes, this team will be the worst team in the league by the end of the year. That's my official prediction, if it's not the Saints. All right, this next game I find to be pretty interesting. And I want to pick up the pace a little bit on these 1 p.m. because there's a lot of them that don't really matter. This one I do think is interesting, though. The Raiders versus the Patriots. These are two teams that I think are coming into the season pretty high on themselves. The Raiders have Geno Smith, which I think is, I would say Geno Smith is a top 10 quarterback in the league. On the bottom end of that top 10 for sure, but I would put him at 10 or 9. I think he's a perfectly fine quarterback to go into the season with the expectation of winning. You have Ashton Genty, who is going to be the starting back, which is very exciting if you're a Raiders fan, I think. I think that could be, arguably the best pick of the draft when you look back at it. I'm very, very high on Ashton Genty. You got Jacoby Myers, who is a great player. I think that there's a lot to be happy about if you're a Raiders fan. And then looking at the New England side of things, I also hate the Patriots with a bottomless amount in my heart. But Drake May showed flashes last season. Is he a guy that could be good? Do they have the pieces around him? Could Mike Vrabel be the guy to lead this team back to their former glory? I'm not that high on them, but I think Drake May can play, and that's a big deal. The line is also set at 2.5 with the Raiders as favorites. What do you make of this game? Or excuse me, with the Patriots as favorites, 2.5-point favorites in New England. What do you make of this?
Yeah, obviously with the Raiders, I love the addition of Ashton Genty. I think the kid's going to be phenomenal. We saw in the preseason, it's just trucking guys. So I'm really looking forward to him. Obviously Brock Bowers, probably best tight end in football right now.
I didn't mention, yes.
You know, Brock Bowers he's basically a wide receiver one in a tight end body.
Yeah.
And now he's got Geno Smith throwing him the ball opposed to what he had in the revolving door that was last year. So I would say Geno Smith's probably top 15 quarterback in my eyes, maybe not 10, but I do like the addition of him. Pete Carroll now being the head coach.
Yeah.
And we've seen what he can do with Geno Smith. He basically helped save Geno Smith's career. So I'm really high on not high. I would say I am very much so excited for the future of the Raiders. I think it's in the right direction, but that offensive line is arguably the worst offensive line in football. And that, to me, it scares me for Genty, but it also scares me in the fact that Geno's going to be getting hit a lot. And what happens when Geno gets hit a lot? Like, you know, he just doesn't play the same. I think that they are going to be good. I don't think they're going to be great, but I think they have the tools in place where they're going to be good or get to that stage where they can possibly make a playoff run in maybe 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
But I don't think it's this year. As far as real quickly, the Patriots,
yeah,
I'm not super high on the Patriots. I think that the Patriots are very similar to the Raiders. They're making moves in the right direction, but I don't see them as contending this year. I think they've got a lot of holes. The addition of Travion Henderson looks like a home run pick right now in the preseason, if you were to ask me, but let's see what he can do in the regular season. Very high on him. Offensive line wise, good luck with Garrett Bradbury. Anyone knows Garrett Bradbury? It's this guy. Good luck with that. And then they spend all of their money on bringing in Milton Williams from the Eagles. I liked that addition. I think it was a lot of money for a defensive tackle. I would have probably spent that money more so on my offensive line and maybe bringing in a couple more players on defense instead of that. But I do think they're headed in the right direction. So I'd say maybe 2 or 3 years, if Drake May is the guy and he does take this step forward and is able to, you know, maybe get 10 touchdowns with Stephon Diggs as late in his career. Doubt it'll happen. But if it does, now he has a number 1 target. And now let's see what he can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, give me the Raiders.
Raiders plus 2.5.
Plus 2.5.
2 very close games. That Steelers and Jets game and the Raiders and Patriots game. Closer than I would have set the line, but what do I know? All right, going into another who cares game. Arizona Cardinals at the New Orleans Saints. Cardinals getting 6.5 points as the favorites. The Saints, I think, are in contention to be the worst team in the league this year. Spencer Rattler was officially named the starter, right? I mean, is there a bigger white flag that you can make in the NFL this year than saying Spencer Rattler is going to be your starting quarterback? I mean, I have no hopes for this team. I have no interest in this team. As far as I'm concerned, they just kind of suck. But looking at the Cardinals, I mean, we have this question every season of Kyler Murray. Like, who is Kyler Murray? Is he going to be this great quarterback that we all thought that he's going to be? And I'm out on Kyler. Yeah, I don't think that he has the mind for it between the ears, meaning the motivation and the drive. I think that, you know, he suffers from being as small of a guy as he is in ways that somebody like Russell Wilson didn't earlier in his career. And look, he has a great arm. He's great with his feet, but I don't see it happen. I don't see the games get won. I don't see the playoff runs get made. I am totally out on Kyler. As far as I'm concerned, like, I don't think about Kyler Murray. He needs to earn his way back into my mind as it stands right now.
Yeah, mark my words, the Saints are going to be the worst team in the league this year, and I think they're doing it on purpose. I think they've built this team to suck, and I think that they are all in on trying to get Arch Manning. Now, whether he comes out next year or not, we don't know. And honestly, his first game, he didn't look very good. I'm going to give the kid credit because it was on the road against Ohio State, who's probably the best team in the league in NCAA. So I want to give him his flowers too. But if he does come out, like, what better landing spot than the Saints where his grandpa played? Like, they are all big Saints fans. Like, I feel like they're sucking for him. And for the Cardinals, I think that the Cardinals obviously getting 6.5 points, and both you and I agree, the Cardinals are going to be mid at best, right?
Yeah.
For them to get 6.5 points on the road, they're on the road, correct? Yeah, they're on
Correct.
the road.
Yes.
That's just showing how bad these bettors think that the Saints are, right?
Yeah.
Like the book, like the book thinks that the Saints are going to be so bad that at home going against a team that everyone sees as very mid in the freaking Cardinals, they're still 6.5 point underdogs. That's wild to me. That says everything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they are competing to be the worst team in the league, and they are the favorites right now. An AFC North matchup, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns, a team that Joe Burrow really struggles against. Surely that comes to an end this year with how awful the Browns are going to be. And I say that with my guy, Joe Flacco, starting at quarterback. It is the most disgusting sight that I've seen in my time as an NFL fan, Joe Flacco in a Browns jersey and succeeding in a Browns jersey. But I just think this team outside of Myles Garrett is devoid of anything meaningful. And they have a couple of strong players on both sides of the ball. But as a whole, I think that we're going back to the Browns that we're used to. I think we're going back to the Browns that suck. There is one name, of course, we have to mention on the Cleveland Browns, and that is Shedeur Sanders. I think he starts very soon. I think Flacco gets hurt, or I think they just lose a lot of games in a row, and I think it's going to be very easy to pull the Shedeur trigger. Why they have Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel on the same team, I don't know. I don't know how that decision got made in the war room. I don't know who that benefits. It doesn't help Shedeur. It doesn't help Dylan Gabriel, and it certainly doesn't help the Cleveland Browns. But they're both there. So we'll see what happens with that quarterback competition. But everything I've seen in preseason and heard from their training camp, it's Shedeur's job to lose as the starting backup.
Yeah, as far as the Cleveland Browns, like obviously Joe Flacco coming back to Cleveland, where they were able to make a playoff run when he came, to Cleveland a few years ago. So I like having Joe Flacco there, and I disagree. I don't think Sanders touches the field this year. Barring like multiple injuries to both Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel.
So you think Gabriel will get play time over Shedeur?
Gabriel's number 2 for sure.
Wow.
And the thing is, I think that they saw value in the draft where they wanted to get Dylan Gabriel, right? Like they selected him 3 rounds ahead or 2 rounds ahead of where they took Shedeur. And when they saw Shedeur just continuing his life, man, like, whoa, like no one really wants this kid. All right. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. They just saw value in a position that was already a weakness for them, right? Because Deshaun Watson's going to be out the whole year. They got Joe Flacco, who they believe in, but he's older. They just got this young kid in Gabriel, but now we can have a competition battle. And if Shedeur's as good as everyone says, then, hey, we made a home run pick here. So I get why everyone was up in arms being like, well, you have 5 quarterbacks on there that could all be starters. Like, what are you doing? I think they looked at it as a blessing in disguise where it's like, let's let him compete with Dylan Gabriel and let's see who the better player is. And if he is that good, then we're going to look like superstars if this is a smash, a home run hit. So, but the fact that Dylan Gabriel's number 2 on the depth chart speaks volumes to me. Because the crowd wants it to be Shedeur. Sure. The media wants it to be Shedeur. But the fact that they don't put Shedeur at number 2 with the initial depth chart, when it doesn't matter, it's a number 2, that speaks volumes.
But it's also the Browns, and they make bad decisions. They just do it, and I don't know why, but they do all the time. So I won't be shocked if they get this wrong too. But yes, I do agree.
Stefanski is a great coach.
He's a good coach in a bad place. He's a good coach in a bad, dirty, mean place. Yes. The other side of this matchup, the favorites by 5.5 points, the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that it's going to be the same as last year. I think they made a good draft pick in the first round who was very disgruntled coming into the season. And it seems like they figured everything out and they figured things out with Trey Hendrickson. But I don't think that this defense has changed a lot. I don't think that a first round rookie is going to change anything. Trey Hendrickson was on the team last year. I don't think that this team changed at all. And I think if they go 7-9 I guess it's not 7-9 anymore. If they go 7-10, or if they go 8-9, why would you be shocked? I think they're going to score 40 plus points in a bunch of games, And I think they're going to lose a bunch of those games again. Joe Burrow's great. If he's healthy, he's one of the best in the league. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is by far and away the best wide receiver duo in the league. But their defense is the same team. It's the same team. Why would we think they're going to do any better?
Yeah, this team is going to need to put up 50 points a game to even stay competitive in games. Like Joe Burrow might be MVP right now because he's going to be throwing the ball 1,000,000 yards to both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins because they're going to have to keep up in these games. Like this defense is not good. It's arguably the worst defense in all of football. And yeah, you got Trey Hendrickson back, which is huge. And it's definitely going to help for this 1-year Band-Aid. But they can only blame themselves. The money they paid Joe Burrow, I understand. But to pay both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins made no sense at all. Like, move Higgins. Like, I know you like that combo, but you can always draft someone to be the replacement for Higgins. Let him walk. Let him get a payday elsewhere. Save that money and use that money to bring in defensive help. It made no sense. You're now paying two guys, the wide receivers on your roster, wide receiver one money, both of them. And one of them's the highest paid wide receiver in the league. Like, it's making the Justin Jefferson contract look like a freaking gold mine. Like, this is crazy to me.
I don't get it. And they are a team that historically just mismanages their teams. It's what both of these teams do. And I don't hate the Browns to cover here because Joe Burrow, for whatever reason, does not play good in Cleveland.
He doesn't play good week one either. Week one,
they always get all, and he was playing in the preseason for that reason, because he was playing all these preseason snaps because they were like, we want to get a fast start, and he's getting his ass beat in the preseason. It made no sense to me. Real quick, I just want to look.
Sorry.
So right now, Joe Burrow is 3-5 against the Browns in his career. Against the Cleveland Browns, he's 3-5. I mean, it's an anomaly to me. It's a complete anomaly. Where do you like the line here?
I'm going to say give me the Bengals, though. Having said all that, I think the Bengals really need to start strong, and these are the games they're going to have to win. Like, this is going to have to be a statement game. And yes, I'll take the -5.5 points because I think that their offense is strong enough to be able to keep up the Browns no problem. And I'm not really worried about Joe Flacco going against that defense.
Sure. This next game here, I think, is actually the most who cares game. The Miami Dolphins at the Indianapolis Colts. Who cares? I don't care about a single player on not one player do I care about on either of these teams. AR-15, I don't think is good at football. Daniel Jones, who cares? Tua Tagovailoa, who cares? Tyreek Hill, old news. Like, I don't care about this game. It's a 1.5 point spread in favor of the Indianapolis Colts. So right now, Vegas is telling you they think both of these teams are the exact same thing. It's just home field advantage. Do you have anything to say about these teams?
Daniel Jones being the starter is crazy to me. Like, that's obviously an indictment of how bad Anthony Richardson probably looked to them. I think that's just going to be one of their all-time worst picks. I think both these teams, I'm really excited to see Tyler Warren, the tight end for the Colts. Sure. I think that kid's going to be a stud. I think you could have a Brock Bowers-like season this season. So watch out for him. I think that kid's going to be an absolute stud. And then defensively, I think they're decent. I think defensively they've got some weapons on defense, but they're going to be probably middle of the pack. Like low end to middle of the pack at best. They were 8-9 last year. I don't know. What's the spread again on this one?
1.5 home field advantage for the Colts.
1.5. Give me the Dolphins. I feel like the Dolphins need it more. Wow. I think the Dolphins need it more. I think the Dolphins have a lot to prove because we saw what they can be offensively, and last year they were not that. But if they get off to a slow start, we might be seeing some people go bye-bye in Miami.
I have nothing to say about this game. I could not care less about either of these teams. I think they both suck. I think they're not bad enough to be the worst team in the league, but they're not even close to good enough to have a meaningful record at the end. I think these are both 6-11 teams that we're looking at right here. This next game, a little more interesting. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons. The Bucs, I think, are trying to find their way to take that next step, trying to find their way with their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, who has had a full-blown career resurgence in Tampa Bay. And I think they're trying to figure out what is it that we need to do to be one of these top NFC teams, because the throne doesn't feel open for the best team in the league. But I think that they look at themselves as the best team in this division. And I think they look at themselves as a team that could definitely win 3 games straight in January. I think they're good enough to do that. And the Falcons, it's going to be the story of like, who is Michael Penix? We had some controversy with Kirk Cousins coming in. It looks like Penix is going to get the nod to start the season. I'm super intrigued by what Michael Penix is going to be and who the Atlanta Falcons are going to be. They're a team that has talent all over the place, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. You have Kyle Pitts, who still hasn't really had his breakout season quite yet, but he's still a young guy. People forget. You've got Drake London. You've got Bijan Robinson. This is a very talented offense. I'm excited to see what they do this year.
Yeah, give me Tampa Bay -1.5. Like, I'll take that all day. Penix is still young. But when Penix given the opportunity last year, when he came in the last few games of the season, he looked pretty decent. He looked like the player we saw at Washington when he was in college and playing in the national championship. I like the future for the Falcons, and I think they have some young studs, Bijan Robinson. Excuse me. I just think that with the Falcons, I will say that they could make a playoff run this year. I think they can make it into playoffs, maybe sneak in as like a wild card team. But I think the Bucs are the cream of the crop when it comes to this division. Obviously, Baker has had a resurgence since he moved over to Tampa Bay. I think that was the best move that's ever happened to him. I think, and I just love him as a quarterback. He's so fun to watch. He reminds me in a lot of ways, and no pun intended because it's in Tampa Bay, but he reminds me of Jameis Winston. Like, he has just that flair about him, that
cannon, absolute
cannon, and he has a spark of energy. Like, he's just someone that you want to go and have a beer with, right? And like hang out and talk football. Like, that's what I get from Baker Mayfield. One of my favorite players to watch. And Bucky Irving, I'm excited to see him at the running back position. Is Mike Evans going to take a step back? Like, is Mike Evans going to, for the first time in his career, not have 1,000 yards? Hope not. I got him in my fantasy team. So, but then Chris Godwin being out, so they're going to need Emeka Egbuka. I always pronounce that name wrong, so apologize for that. But they're going to need him to really come out and play strong as well. There are questions. Don't get me wrong. But I think they could make like a deep run in the playoffs. Like, I feel like this is a year that they could take that next step and like win a game or two in the playoffs.
And I think they win that division again.
I think they win the division.
I don't think it's going to be hard, relatively speaking, to win that division. Like, I think if you get to 10 wins, I think it's almost a lock that you win. Because it's going to be them. It's going to be the Saints, who are nothing. It's going to be the Falcons, who are a bit of a toss up. And then who's the last team I'm missing? NFC
Panthers.
South. And then the Panthers, so like this is their division, kind of from week 1, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All right, this next game, one that should be a blowout, if everything goes according to how it should. The Denver Broncos will be hosting the Tennessee Titans. Broncos are 7.5-point favorites. I think that Bo Nix is super legit. I am in on Bo Nix, and I think it's a little premature to say that, but like, I am in on Bo Nix. I think Cortland Sutton is a fine player. I think RJ Harvey is going to be an exciting player. They also got J.K. Dobbins, former Baltimore Ravens and former Los Angeles Chargers running back in there, who I think is a fine player. I think Bo, I watched him play in Baltimore. I think he's got a great arm. I think he's got a great wiggle. He has a deceptively good level of escapability from the pocket. He has great motion with his legs. I mean, like, I think him paired with Sean Payton is a match made in heaven. I have very high hopes for the Broncos this year, and I think they're going to be deep in the mix, deep in the season to win the AFC East.
Yeah, as far as
AFC West.
They absolutely are. I think they could be in a position where they could take that next step. I don't know if that's necessarily enough to take down the Chiefs in the division, but they are like one of those young up and coming teams, and it's so wild to me that as bad as their cap space was last year after the whole Russell Wilson contract debacle, all of that, the fact that they were able to bring in Bo and still become a playoff team is wildly impressive. Like, and what they were doing with like kind of the scraps of what they put together. Yeah, Cortland Sutton's great. Marvin Mims looks like he's a talent. But outside of that, they really had no one. The running game was not very good. So I'm excited to see, because there's a couple guys on this Denver roster that I feel like could be big contributors. Like J.K. Dobbins coming over from the Chargers, and now he's going to be the running back over on the Broncos. Him and RJ Harvey kind of split in time. What is that rookie going to do?
Yeah.
So they've got, and Troy Franklin, like we saw him, he has a rapport with Bo Nix from Oregon. Are they going to be able to take that to the next level and actually get Troy Franklin the ball more? I'm excited to see it. Offensive line, they have a great offensive line. Like defensively, Zach Allen, DJ Jones, like Jonathan Cooper, like there's just so many guys on Nick Bonito, Pat Surtain, like probably the best corner in football. Like the fact is this team can challenge the Chiefs right now for the division. I think the Chiefs
I agree. Yeah.
And
that division's going to be a dogfight, dude, between the Chargers, between the Broncos, and between the Chiefs. Like, I don't know. You could tell me any of those teams will win the division, and I'd be like, yeah, I could see it. I think it might be the most exciting division in football this season. Going into this next game here, we are officially in the 4 p.m.s, by the way, folks. The San Francisco 49ers will be heading to Seattle to face their divisional opponent. Right now, the 49ers open up as 2.5-point favorites. I don't love this line. I don't know, dude. I am not big on the 49ers at all this season. Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey, but he's also older and now very banged up Christian McCaffrey. I think we're seeing a very typical running back lifespan play out here with McCaffrey, and I think we start to see a pretty steep drop-off from him this year, assuming he stays healthy. You got George Kittle, one of the best in the league, but then after that, who are you looking at for your weapons? I mean, Jawan Jennings? All right. Ricky Pearsall? All right. I'm high on Pearsall, but like, all right. And you have Brock Purdy, who just cashed out a big contract that I'm not sure he deserves. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never been a big Brock Purdy believer. And then I look at the other side of the aisle, and you have the Seattle Seahawks. You got Kenneth Walker. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba. You now have Cooper Kupp. These are super legit weapons they have with a revived Sam Darnold coming from your Minnesota Vikings. And obviously we saw the embarrassing way that he crashed out of the playoffs. No offense meant. But, I mean, this is a dude who I think showed like he can play and he will play. I think Darnold is going to look a lot more like he did in the regular season this year than he did in that playoff game. And he's got super legit weapons around him. And we saw what he was able to do last season with legit weapons. Mm-hmm. I like the Seahawks outright here. At home, I like the Seahawks. Okay, with also the head coach of Mike McDonald, who is one of the best young head coaches in the league.
Yeah. So obviously, my boy, Sam Darnold, got his rookie jumbo patch here. This one is a personal edition. So it was given to his grandpa, who I then got from someone else. So
wow,
not very many of those out there, but I'm high on the Seahawks. Like I really am. The problem with the Seahawks, and this is a big problem that he had with the Vikings, was when your offensive line is not very good, when they aren't being able to stay upright and protect you, Sam Darnold crumbles, right? Like we saw the last 2 games of the season. We only lost to 2 teams last year, and we lost to them 4 times. And that was because they had really good pressure on the offensive line to get to Sam Darnold. And when he sees, these guys in his face throughout the game, he really does not play like the same player. So my biggest worry is this offensive line good enough to protect Sam Darnold when the blueprint was made by the Rams and the Lions last year is rush the pass as much as you can, blitz the hell out of them, because if that offensive line crumbles, Sam Darnold will crumble. If not, then he could play absolutely out of his mind. I agree with you. Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith and Jigba, I love that combo. Like that combo is going to be really fun to watch, but I just don't know about this offensive line. So that does worry me. I do like the addition of Gray Zabel though in the draft. Yeah. As far as the Niners, I think the Niners, they've obviously lost a lot of pieces, especially on defense. Deebo Samuel's no longer there. I still think they'll play better than they did last year. They just got hit with the injury bug. They also didn't probably play up to their full expectation. I would say I kind of had the Seahawks and the Niners in relatively the same area, but I'm going to give the win to the Seahawks. I would think it'd be a close game. So I think that they maybe barely cover.
And no Brandon Ayuk playing as well. Also,
and no Ayuk. Yeah, their wide receivers are hurt.
Yeah, so it's a bad way for San Francisco's offense right now. NFC North matchup coming up next. The Detroit Lions heading to Green Bay, where Green Bay are 2.5-point favorites at home. What do you make of this game as the NFC North expert?
Well, I hate both these teams, so can they both just not win? Like not tie, just both lose. Let's go 0-1 for both of them. obviously everyone's going to say these are the top 2 teams in the division. I've been hearing it all off season, all the praise, especially if they're Micah Parsons. Oh, sorry, Jose, I got this playing in the background. Obviously with Micah Parsons coming in, now everyone's like all on the Packers. I do think these are going to be good teams. Like, they are good teams. Don't get me wrong. But I think Detroit is going to take a step back this year. And I know I'm biased. I know I have a dog in the race here. But I really think that the loss of the 2 coordinators to head coaching positions and the loss of their center in Ragnow, I think that's going to be a huge detriment to them because they weren't able to recoup that position in the draft or even free agency because he retired so late. Now, they dealt with injuries last year and they were able to still, go on to win the division. I think they will be a playoff team. Don't get me wrong. I think the Lions are a playoff team, but I don't think they're a 15-2 team. I think at best they are a 12, maybe 11 win team. And the Green Bay Packers, for reasons I said earlier, as much as the media wants to portray them, I think that Jordan Love has to prove it. Just like we said with Bryce Young, just like we said with Trevor Lawrence. We need to see what Love can really be because he's been good. Has he been great? No. So is he going to be able to take his career and his opportunities and turn it around? Can the Packers not drop every throw pass to them this season? I love the addition of Matthew Golden, but I just don't know if I see it. I'm still going to give Green Bay the win here. Okay. -1.5. I'll take that.
2.5.
Oh, you have 2.5. Okay, on my end it says 1.5. Regardless, give me Green Bay.
Okay, jump into this next game, the last of the 4 p.m.s. The Houston Texans heading to the Los Angeles Rams, where the Rams are 3-point favorites. This is a little surprising to me. I think that we're going to see Houston bounce back this season. I think that they had as bad of a situation as you could have last year. You had both of your starting wide receivers go down in the middle of the year. You had Bobby Slowick, who was an incompetent offensive coordinator, and you had a sophomore regression from C.J. Stroud. I think C.J. Stroud gets back to his best, and I don't think they're going to lose both of their guys next year. I think they're going to make improvements all across the offense, and I am not super big on the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford is like kind of burning this candle down to as low as it can go. There have been talks in camp that his back is way worse than people think it is. I think it's going to take a couple of bad hits for Stafford to really have to question if he can, go out and keep playing games this season. And, you lose a guy like Cooper Kupp, who is certainly older, but you replace him with Devontae Adams, and that feels like a very lateral move to me. I think I am more scared of Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz as a receiving duo than I am of Devontae Adams and Tyler Higbee. And obviously you have Puka Nacua. Yeah. You have Puka Nacua, who's going to be the biggest threat on that team, and also Kyron Williams, who's a fine player. But having CJ Stroud throwing the ball to Nico Collins, I fear that far more than I do Matthew Stafford throwing the ball to Puka Nacua.
Yeah, I think that both these teams are kind of in a weird spot, right? The Rams should on paper be very good. They look like they could be a Super Bowl contender. The problem is we don't know about the extent of Matthew Stafford's injury. Now they say he's going to be ready for week 1. Is he though? And he is a very old quarterback in the NFL. What is he? I think he's the second oldest behind, or is he the third oldest behind Flacco and Aaron Rodgers? One of the two. So
yeah, I think that's right.
And so I worry for him. I worry for his health. And behind him is what, Stetson Bennett. If they don't have Stafford, that's it for the season. You might as well mark it down now.
Oh, yeah.
I think that the Rams, I do like the addition of Devontae Adams. I'll always have a sweet spot for Devontae Adams being a Fresno State guy. But I think that if they don't have a healthy Stafford, they aren't going anywhere in this league. As far as the Houston Texans, what is their offensive line? They traded away Laramie Tunsil, who was easily their best offensive, player on the offensive line. Yeah, they have Nico Collins, but if he's not protected, CJ Stroud struggled last year, right?
Yeah.
Even when he had better protection, but he was running for his life a lot of the times, and now he just lost easily his best player on the offensive line. Yeah, he committed a lot of false start penalties, but that still doesn't negate the fact that he was protection for your guys' blind side of your number one quarterback. I worry about the Texans this year. I think that they could take an even more regression. But I think that if Stafford is healthy, give me the Rams minus 3.5. If he is not healthy and he is out of this game, I'll take Houston all day.
I think I like Houston. I think that even if Stafford plays, I don't think he will be healthy. And I like to see them take a jump this season. I like Houston with the points. All right, getting into our Sunday night football game in which I will be in attendance in Buffalo. The Baltimore Ravens heading to the Buffalo Bills. The Ravens open up as 1.5-point favorites on the road against the Buffalo Bills. I think that the only roster you can say right now that's better than the Ravens is the Philadelphia Eagles, and I would argue that the Ravens are a better roster right now than the Philadelphia Eagles. You have Lamar Jackson, who I think, okay, he didn't win the MVP last year. Probably should have. Let's be honest. The stats speak for themselves. I think he's the best football player on the planet. Am I incredibly biased when I say that? Absolutely, I do. But I think the numbers support that claim. I don't think that's something that I'm pulling out of thin air. And if he's not the best player in the world to you, he's certainly on your short list. And if he's not, then you're just lying. When I look at this roster, they improved all across the board this offseason. Obviously, quarterback, you're not going to improve on because it's hard to improve when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson there. Keaton Mitchell, who exploded his knee in Jacksonville a couple years ago, is back and healthy. I watched him play in the preseason live and in person. He is every bit as quick and dangerous as he was before the injury, which is as shocking to me as it is to anybody else. I was ready for that guy's career to be over. He came out, albeit in the preseason, but looked really, really strong. Obviously, Justice Hill going to be making the return as the number 2 running back. Zay Flowers will be healthy for this game, which he was not healthy for in the playoff matchup that the Baltimore Ravens lost by 2 points back in January. You're also going to have the addition of DeAndre Hopkins to that wide receiving room. Massive improvement from where they were back in January when it comes to receiving. Also, Rashad Bateman coming off his best career season, looking to improve in it next year. The one big caveat for this Ravens offense is going to be no Isaiah Likely, the Coastal Carolina tight end who has been making waves across the NFL through his first 2 seasons. Some people say he might be better than Mark Andrews. I'm not quite ready to go that far, but it's going to be irrelevant to this game because he ain't there. So that's going to be something the Ravens are going to have to work around. But Mark Andrews is Mark Andrews, despite his horrific display in Buffalo back in January. He is still one of the top guys in this league, top 5, probably on the bottom end of that top 5 now, I'd say, maybe 6 looking on the defensive side of the ball. They made their first 2 draft picks on the defensive side. These are going to be instant impact starters. They have Malachi Starks, the safety. Many people say one of, if not the best safety coming out of the draft. And if it wasn't for some personal conduct concerns, rape charges, Mike Green was taken in the 2nd round, who many people are saying is the steal of the draft. He had the most sacks in college football last season. He probably would have been a top 10 pick if it wasn't for the sexual assault charges that he had that he was cleared of. So I look at this team and I just see improvements all across the board. Jair Alexander was brought in, former All-Pro, for that cornerback room. You have 2nd-year player Nate Wiggins, who had a very strong rookie season, looking to build on that. And, of course, you have the face of that cornerback room in Marlon Humphrey. You have Nnamdi Madubuike and Travis Jones, who are going to be leading the interior defensive line. And sneakily, Odafe Owe, one of their pass rushers, got to 10 sacks last season, his career high, double-digit sacks for the first time in his career. Somebody I think a lot of people were kind of on, and then he goes out and has a double-digit sack season. Match that with Mike Green, the explosiveness and the violence that Mike Green brings to this defensive line. Just everywhere across the board, this team got better in the offseason. And Buffalo is still a wagon, no pun intended, to have to go deal with, particularly in Buffalo, a cold environment, a hostile environment, a place where Baltimore and Lamar Jackson don't have a lot of fond memories. They've lost 2 playoff games in Buffalo, and they've won 1 regular season game there in Buffalo a couple years ago. You know where I'm going to go with this. I think the Baltimore Ravens win. I'll take it a step further. Baltimore hangs 40 in Highmark come Sunday night. I think that they run Buffalo out of the stadium, just like they did in September last season at M&T Bank Stadium when they won by 25 and put 30 plus on their head. I think this is a rout in favor of Baltimore. You can say whatever you want about the playoff game. It happened. It was a tight game. It was a freezing cold snow game. The regular season is where Lamar Jackson reigns supreme. And when it comes to the Bills in the regular season, Lamar Jackson certainly reigns supreme. Baltimore Ravens win by 25 plus points again.
Yeah, I agree with you that the best player in the world is on this field, but it's not Lamar Jackson. It's Josh Allen. Like
Bobby.
Josh Allen is he was MVP last year for a reason. He's easily the best player in the world, and I don't think it's even close.
Yeah, because of the LeBron fallacy that they couldn't give Lamar another MVP without giving one to Josh Allen. There was one stat in all of football that Josh Allen beat Lamar Jackson in last year, and it was rushing touchdowns. And if you could go hyper stat mode on it, it would be rushing touchdowns from inside the 5-yard line. What are we talking about here? Completion percentage, passing yards, passing touchdowns, wins everywhere across the board. Lamar Jackson was the better quarterback last year. Wins, I don't think they had. I think they were one win behind Buffalo. But regardless, everywhere across the board, Lamar Jackson was the better quarterback, and he dropped 30-plus points on his head in the regular season. I know that they beat him in the playoffs, but it's a regular season award, folks. Every single statistic other than who already had 2 MVPs points toward Lamar Jackson being the MVP last season. I digress.
I knew that was going to come out if I made that exclamation.
Who do you like to win the game, Bobby?
So, real quick, I just want to say, as far as the Bills, I really worry about their defense. I think their defense is not going to be that good this year.
I think it got worse.
It got worse, and they're injured. Like, it's rough looking at this defense. So I think Josh Allen, he's going to need to make up with these, Keon Coleman. You got to be good, man. Like, it's time for you in year 2 to take that next step. Joshua Palmer, are you going to be someone? Dalton Kincaid took a huge step back last year. He needs to come back and be what he was on his rookie season. Like, offensively, it's Josh Allen or bust, right? And like when you have Josh Allen, you're going to be around. And I still think they easily handle this division, so they won't make playoffs. But man, that defense is scary bad. So I worry for them defensive wise. And I think the Baltimore Ravens, like I said earlier, arguably the best team in the league. Like, it's not even close. You guys got so much better on defense. It's crazy. And you have Derrick Henry with Lamar Jackson. The only thing I have to say is, when are you guys going to give up on Rashad Bateman? He is not good.
Whoa, no. Oh, come on now. I got to run, man. Don't start these conversations. I got to get out of here, man. I got a place to be right now.
All right.
He had his no, because now we're going to do it. He had his career year last season. He had 9 touchdowns last season and 756 yards. You're going to tell me that this isn't a good guy? You're going to tell me this? He just got a 3-year extension in this offseason, and you're going to tell me that this isn't a guy that deserves to be on an NFL team and deserves to get a contract extension, coming off 9 touchdowns and 756 yards, playing on the same team as Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry, and Lamar Jackson, who I know is throwing the ball, but he's taking up a lot of yards down the field, running the ball as well. And we talked about Isaiah Likely, who's one of the biggest up-and-coming passing threats in this league, and he's still found his way to 750 yards and 9 touchdowns. Rashad Bateman is a damn good player, and he's going to prove you wrong this season again, because they already did it last season.
I'm so glad I have 3 more years of watching him go for, like, in the 10th round, being like, Rashad Bateman's there. Do I have to take him? Like, really? And yeah, sure, he had 9 touchdowns last year, but for his first 3 seasons. Like, yes, he might have gotten lucky with a few catches this year, but he is
lucky
not
with a few catches. What are we talking about here, Bobby? We're moving on. Give me the breakdown for the final game of the week. Chicago
I think you guys
Bears
win, by the way.
hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Only a 1.5 favorites, your Vikings. Where do you think that comes from? What do you make of this team this year?
Because the haters gonna hate. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, this is what they do. We're used to this being Minnesota. Like, every year it's like, oh, the Ravens, oh, the Bills, oh, the Chiefs, all these super teams, Eagles. We were 14-3 last year. We were 14-3. Like, where's the respect on our name? Like, I get it. Sam Darnold, and it's a quarterback position, and Sam Darnold is not there. But JJ McCarthy, I believe in O'Connell, where he's willing to let a 35 touchdown quarterback walk in the offseason because he believes that much in the rookie quarterback that he drafted, and he's been able to see behind the scenes. Yes, he was injured last year. It was a fluke injury. The kid has only lost 1 game in all of high school and college. I believe in this kid. He's a national champion. They would not have let Sam Darnold walk if they didn't see something in JJ McCarthy. Now, granted, I am terrified because this team feels like the Ravens, feels like a super team, right? We have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Adam Thielen. Like, yes, we're going to be missing Jordan Addison for the first 3 games. Sure. But I feel like Adam Thielen and JJ can easily pick that up. We have TJ Hawkinson, our offensive line, that we were able to save the money by not picking up Sam Darnold's contract. That $100 million went to this offensive line that is arguably could be one of the best offensive lines in football if it all pans out. Defensive wise, the only question I have on defense is the cornerback position. That is what scares me. I definitely think we are weak at the cornerback position. Don't get me wrong. But everything else, the defensive line is stacked on our defensive line. So, yes, it's terrifying because we have one question mark besides corner, and that's quarterback. And it's the most important position all of football. But I believe JJ could be that guy. So the fact that we're getting no respect, you know how many people out there are putting us as the worst team in the division, below the Bears, who went 5 and whatever last season. Like,
well, what do you make of the Bears on the other side of this game?
No, I don't get me wrong. I like the addition of Ben Johnson, and I know they're at home, and I think Caleb will take a step forward this year. There was a lot of times, even when he was playing my team, I saw a lot of spark with Caleb, and I know that people were hard on him. And I know that he deserved a lot of it, and a lot of it was his own fault. But his coaching last year didn't give him any help. They were not there to support him. So with Ben Johnson there, I think he takes a step forward. And I do agree. It could be a carousel of who's going to win this division. I think any of the 4 teams can finish in first. Any of the 4 teams can finish in last.
Sure.
I still think the Vikings, having been a 14-3 team, still have the better weapons and the better team as a whole. So, yes, I'm taking the Vikings, obviously.
And that's going to do it for Week 1 preview, the inaugural NFL Weekly Preview Show here at the Reality After Show. What a marathon that was, but we got through it. We did it anyway. Boy, was that fun. That was a good time. I can't wait till the season gets on and we can really decide which teams we don't need to talk about.
Who do you take in the Bears-Vikings game? Like, what was your
I'm rolling with the Vikes, no question. No,
okay,
I think they're better pretty much everywhere. I think the only big question mark, like you said, is JJ going to be able to score 30 points in the games where they need to score 30 points to win? I think that's the only big question mark that they have. But going into this game against the Bears, who I think have far more question marks than the Vikings do, I just roster to roster, coach to coach, I got to go with the Vikings. And also our brothers in purple, man. I'm always going to support the purple people over at the NFC. So, those are my guys in the NFC. So they're going to be a fun team to root for this year. Really, really fun show. Johnny, a little under the weather tonight. Hopefully he'll be able to join us with some terrible NFL takes next week, but I can't wait to do it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This has been so much fun. Thank you for folks in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel. Help us with that algorithm a little bit. Like this, share it, send it to your friends. Go ahead, post it on your Twitter. Follow Bobby online at Goodsby Bobby. You can see his handle right there under his picture. You can go ahead, follow me at Gabe Ortis. Stay up to date with all the cool Survivor stuff and otherwise that I'm up to. Bobby doing his Twitch stream for Big Brother. Bobby, real quick, let the folks know, how can they tune in?
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I am live from 12 noon Pacific to 2 p.m. Pacific on Twitch, twitch.tv/Bobby Goodsby, talking NFL, talking reality TV, just talking live. Whole lot of fun. And also shout out to Watertown Whiskey once again, our sponsors of this podcast. We appreciate you guys. Go check them out on Instagram, Watertown Whiskey. They are the best. Tell them Fairplay sent you. Drink responsibly.
Drink responsibly, folks, this NFL season. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you next week after the Ravens and Vikings are 1-0.